In this video, we are going to analyze what every single team in the NFC is trying to accomplish heading on into the postseason and all that minutia. So the San Francisco 49ers are the only team to have clinched the playoff spot. They're 10-3. They're trying to improve on their 13-4 record from last year. Um, it's their fourth playoff berth in 5 seasons. It's actually their third in a row. The last 2 years they lost in the NFC Championship. 2020 they missed out completely, but 2019 they won. They lost Super Bowl 54, but they won the NFC. It was their first playoff appearance since 2013. Although, how come yeah. So that was that. Now the Dallas Cowboys are 10-3. They're trying to improve on a 12-5 record from last year. What the Cowboys really need to achieve, and they're not going to go through this, is that looking at the Dallas Cowboys, you can see they've had a consistent array of playoff appearances. They made the playoffs last year. They won the East in 2021, and last year they made the divisional round. But 1995 was their last season making it to the NFC Championship round when they won the Super Bowl that year. But really, that's what they're trying to do. Lions, they're trying to win their first division title since 1993 and make the first playoff appearance in 2016. They are trying to improve on a 9-8 record from last year. At 9-4, they've already matched it, but that loss was costly, and they're going to struggle to clinch a berth this week officially. Also, they've only won a single playoff game. It was in 1991. This is the only game they won in the Super Bowl era. The last time they won a playoff game, it was the only time during the Super Bowl era, and they still lost in the NFC Championship to the Washington Redskins. But Lions, they are really trying to push for that Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to happen. All right, Buccaneers, what they're trying to do is win their third consecutive NFC South title and fourth consecutive playoff berth. Also, they lost in the wild card round last year, the division round the year before, and they won Super Bowl 55. So that's what they're trying to do. Now the Eagles failed to improve on their 14-3 record from last year. They could still match it, but their loss to the Cowboys means that they can no longer improve on their record. They're still trying to defend their NFC East title, but no team has done this successfully since the 2004 Eagles themselves. Also, the Eagles, they lost Super Bowl 57. In 2021, they lost in the wild card round. 2020, they didn't make the playoffs. 2018 was a wild card loss. 2018, they lost in the divisional round. They won Super Bowl 52 in 2017, so of course the Super Bowl is their main aim. Even though I don't even think they can even make it to the Super Bowl, unfortunately, because they are my team. Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, they're 7-6. Their loss to the Chiefs in Week 5 meant that they could no longer improve on their record from the 13-4 of last year. But it wasn't until Week 11 when they lost to the Broncos when they officially were guaranteed to do worse than last year. And you could see that the Vikings, they were just an ugly team. I mean, last year they had a negative point differential, and that showed when they made the playoffs and they lost the wild card round to the Giants. It was, 2022 was the first playoff appearance since 2019 and their first NFC North title since 2017. In 2019, the Vikings won a playoff game and they lost in the divisional round, but that was the last time that they won a playoff game. So you could see how the Vikings did very good in 2022, but they couldn't do anything in the postseason, and a big part of that was they were frauds. I'm starting to have that same fear in the Eagles, but the Eagles still do have a positive point differential. It's not great, but it's still positive. The Vikings was negative. Now the Packers, they are attempting to make the playoffs after they missed it last year. 2021, they didn't win the playoff game because they lost immediately in the divisional round after getting the bye. 2020 was the last time they won a playoff game, and they also made it to the NFC Championship that year. So the Packers, that's what they're trying to do. They also haven't made it to a Super Bowl when they won it in 2010 Super Bowl. It was I think 45 because that was the one the Steelers lost. Now the Rams. The Rams improved on their 5-12 record from last year. In their 6-7. By the way, for the Packers, the record last year was 8-9, so that's still up in the air as to whether or not they could do it. Because last year the Rams were terrible. They were the worst defending champion ever. But they won Super Bowl 56. And you know, by winning Super Bowl 56, they really did everything they can achieve. So they really they're in a position where they're probably going to finish in between the two seasons. But I'm curious if they can make the playoffs. Seahawks. They're going to attempt to improve on a 9-8 record and make the playoffs the first time in back-to-back years since 2018 and 2020. As you can see, in 2021 they missed it. In 2022 they made it, but they lost in the wild card round. They also lost in the wild card round in 2020, which was the last time they won the NFC West title. 2019 unfortunately they beat the Eagles in the wild card round, so that was their last playoff win. And even then, they lost to the Packers in the divisional round. Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are attempting to improve on a 7-10 record from last year, and as of now, they're 6-7. As far as the Falcons go, they last made the playoffs in 2017, and they last won the South in 2016. 2016 was that very infamous year in which they lost Super Bowl 51 despite having a 28-3 lead. And the next year was their last year making the playoffs. Saints, they're 6-7. They're trying to improve on a 7-10 record from last year, make the playoffs for the first time since 2020. Like the Colts, they had a heartbreaker in 2021 by missing out on the playoffs, and then they did bad, although not as bad as the Colts in 2022. 2020, also unlike them, the Saints are not in a playoff position, although they could get in one. Not saying it's likely, but there's a chance. 2020, they won the NFC South, but they lost in the divisional round. So the Saints, they made it to the championship round in a while. The last time they made it there was 2018, and they won in the Super Bowl for a very long time. Wish I could go over and discuss how long, but I can't. So Giants made the playoffs last year, but at already the 9-7-1 record from last year, they failed to improve on it with their Week 10 loss to the Cowboys. Even though now they're on a win streak, it's still too late. They're still in playoff contention with the possibility of finishing with the winning record, but it's unlikely. Also, they're attempting to win the NFC East for the first time since 2011, which is when they won Super Bowl 46. So that's what's going on in Giants land. And the Giants between 2011 and 2022 made the playoffs once. It was a wild card loss in 2016. The Chicago Bears. The Bears. It took a while, but with a Week 12 win over the Vikings, they were able to improve on their record from last year. They matched it in Week 10. But the fact it took so long, it really just speaks volumes to how bad the team is. The Bears last made the playoffs in 2020, and they were really the only wild card team, I think, in history to make the playoffs with a split record. So, they lost in the playoffs. The Bears' last time winning the North was 2018, but even that was their infamous double doink loss. So 2010 was the last time they managed to win a playoff game. They made it to the NFC Championship, and they lost to the Packers. So that's that. The Washington Commanders, they failed to improve on the 8-1 record last year by losing to the Dolphins in Week 13. They started off doing pretty good, but then it just collapsed after that. And every single time we thought that they had a chance and they were coming back to life, they just collapsed again. And as far as the Commanders go, the Commanders last made the playoffs in 2020, and that was the last time we in the East. But they haven't actually won a playoff game in a very long time. It was 2005, the last time they won a playoff game, and made it past the wild card round. And even then, it was a divisional round defeat. But that was their last time. Finally, the Cardinals, they're 3-10. They're trying to make it to the playoffs after they failed to do so in 2021. They're also trying to win their first NFC West title since 2015. 2015 was the previous time they made it to the playoffs for 2021, and that was the last time that they won in the playoffs. They actually made it all the way to the NFC Championship round. But since then, the Cardinals have had one playoff appearance, and it was a loss. Finally, Panthers are eliminated. They're 1-12. They failed to improve on a 7-10 record. And they're eliminated from the playoffs in Week 13. Even the Patriots got to live to Week 14. They failed to improve on the record in Week 12. Week 13 is when they were mathematically guaranteed to do worse. It's been bad in Panthers in recent history. The Carolina Panthers last made the playoffs in 2017. They last won the South in 2015, which is when they lost the Super Bowl. They never won a Super Bowl before, ever. And in 2017, you look at the Panthers, and they lost to the Saints in the wild card round.